Welcome to Bridges with your host, Dr. Paul. From the studies of traditional and alternative methods in martial arts, natural sciences, to further his knowledge of the holistic sciences. Welcome to Bridges with your host, Dr. Paul. From the studies of traditional and alternative methods in martial arts, natural sciences, to further his knowledge of the holistic sciences, author Dr. Paul is here to help promote clarity and understanding and to help facilitate making informed decisions. You learn to trust yourself, opening you up to a new world of connection, relationships, and care. So please welcome the host of Bridges, Dr. Paul Dyer.
Waiting for the feed to come on Facebook, and it just popped on. Welcome. So I'm going to get started here. As you can see, I am all alone. Well, I'm not all alone because I have Miss Ashley Johnson behind me, and she can wave, right? She can wave. You can see her on the screen behind me, and I have two lovely ladies on the phone with me today in every show in Bridges. So let's give you some updates. So Bridges was also hosted by the BBM Global Network, and we're taking a little bit sabbatical, so it's just going to be hosted on my Instagram and Facebook Live. So we'll also see it on my Twitter feed. So we'll be putting all the shows together every Monday, still Bridges at 8 p.m. We're never getting rid of Bridges. Bridges is something that we love to do because it gets you from here to there. Also, you don't see my partner, Hope and Dyer. Miss Hope, my daughter. She is busy out doing her thing, putting people in places and putting smiles in places that she needs to do. She's getting some work done, so that's what she's doing. So, welcome to Bridges. Remember, every show I like to dedicate a bridge. And today's bridge is in Los Angeles. And you'll understand why, because my guests are coming from Los Angeles, and it's the 6th Street Viaduct Bridge. So I would think you ladies would be like, that's awesome. So Miss Annabelle, please introduce yourself to Bridges. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Annabelle, and it's actually not this viaduct. And so I'm a director, filmmaker, actor, and we're currently working on a project called The Weight of Perfection, and I'm here with my directing partner and producing partner of everything related to this film, Leanne Bishop, who is sitting right next to me.
That's awesome. So you know what the viaduct looks like. It's probably the most filmed iconic bridge in Los Angeles. That's what I hear anyway. Is that true?
Yes. I actually went to a festival there quite recently, the Vision Fest, from my dear friend Jacques Telemaque.
Okay.
That's quite the amazing location indeed.
So one of my favorite scenes that I have found out that was filmed there, well, I kind of knew, but I wasn't sure which bridge it was. It's actually Grease.
Mm.
Right, that's where they held the drag racing with the car and stuff like that. So I thought that was so I wanted to pick that bridge. So now tell us, Miss Leanne, tell us about this project that you and Annabelle is on.
Sure. Myself, I'm a gymnast. I grew up in doing gymnastics at Unconditional Love. And this is what I wrote probably 4 or 5 months ago, and I brought it to our executive producer on our team, who wanted to come on board, who then introduced me to the lovely Annabelle, who's come on to help me rewrite the script and direct it, and so I'm very, very fortunate and blessed to have this lovely team of women. The story itself very much centers around the world of gymnastics and eating disorders. Our main goal is to, start the conversation and open it up more about eating disorders and to promote positive body image, because it's something that lives with so many people that you would never even realize, and it's very much a mental health disease and not a vanity disease, and we really want to create awareness for this.
So, Miss Leanne, let's get this straight, because when we talk about Olympics, and I've always was very concerned, I've been a trainer for many years, and working with all types of athletes around the world. But I've always thought like the gymnasts were something that was very hesitant to ever go near because they put the women through such strong workouts at such young ages, and I personally never agreed with that. So tell me how you felt about that.
For myself, athlete, I really loved it. I mean, I love the years of it. I love the hard training. I think for any sport, it takes a certain personality and tenacity to be able to get to a certain level, and that's why in the sport of gymnastics, why a lot of people do retire quite early, because it's, there are parts about it that you might not have the mental capacity for at such a young age, because it very much, especially in the past, is a younger woman's sport, because your body does change over time.
Right,
and
right.
Even though our film is around world gymnastics, our focus is not gymnastics. Our focus is to try to relate how easy it is to fall into an eating disorder, and it can be any sport, it can be any time in your life, it can be a male, it can be a female. So even though this is our nucleus, it's not the entire story, if that makes any sense.
It does. So now, because you're both, Annabelle, you in the end, you're both, you've been working in film, directing and writing, and even Ashley, who hosts a magazine for Just Be You, and I know she's had what you call larger women than most in her magazines, and there's still eating disorders and all of the things that's going on. How is that? Do you address some of the people you meet? Can you tell right away? Or is it something that someone has to say that I have an eating disorder?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I mean, I feel for everyone. There's some people who pick up the signs right away, and there's that you just don't. Annabelle, what are your thoughts on that?
I think over time, because I've started, I had an eating disorder myself as well.
Right.
And wrote extensively about it, my cure was to study myself, so I know the nooks and crannies on a very personal level, and I recognize the patterns in others, and I actually look less at the body. I look more at the behavior and the disconnect, the disjointedness, and then what kind of addiction is taking place is more, there's some little physical cues, but it's mainly the behavior that's off. There's just something off, and I've, over time, when you can confirm certain suspicions, it's like developing a little detector muscle, because I've talked to a lot of people who suffered or suffer from eating disorders. Yeah.
So now, how can people get a hold to help you with sponsorships and that? Because this, every time we try to do or help or create an awareness, we definitely need to do more than what we are doing. And I think, so first, what are some of the things that people don't know about? Because in Bridges, I would like to give people, the information about what's going on, and then hopefully they can have a better understanding, and then they can put things into an action. So what are some of the misunderstandings about eating disorders that you've noticed and that you want to bring awareness to?
I think, there's a comedian named Give Out It. He made a skit quite well known about why don't you eat rich? So that's a misconception that it's so far from reality that it's a diet, or like dieting girls, or like this vanity disease that Leanne already talked about. It is actually all the people that I've talked to, and they are probably in the hundreds. Wow. I cannot see that there's a single one that hasn't confessed that the origins of their eating disorder, because it's a form of self-harm and depression, right, has started in abuse or trauma of some sort. So it has nothing to do with trying to be on a diet. Like, that is far removed from the truth. And that's a misconception people have. Like, why don't you just eat? They can't. It's like, why, it's the same talking to a heroin addict. Why don't you just stop taking heroin? Oh, because you're hooked and you have problems that make you reach to these coping tools that are just very bad for you, but you're hooked. So, if we can make people understand that it's not a choice, there's this initial flirtation moment when you start doing it out of desperation to find relief of some sort, and then your body takes over and the body chemistry out of whack just makes you continue to do it, and then you have an extended stomach, and that needs to be filled, and it's very, 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 very tricky to recover, but it's definitely possible. That's the other thing I would like to spread out there, that recovery is absolutely possible, because this illness is so shame-based. People don't talk about it. They don't come out and say, hey, I have recovered, so there's still a lot of mystery around it. Can one really recover, or does one always have to count calories and deny oneself? But one can definitely recover, and I say that because I have fully recovered, and that was like the last time throwing up because I had bulimia was 20 years ago. Wow. And I'm a happy, healthy eater. So I talked a lot, and maybe Leanne wants to say something too.
Well, I'm just not along the same lines, but I very much the same. Like if someone's, they understand it, eating disorder. What's that? What do you have to go to a hospital for that? I don't. Oh, well, why doesn't she just eat? I think it's something that people don't know enough about, and very much just think it's an easy fix.
It's not an easy fix. With me having daughters, I have 7 daughters, and the thing about it is that they've always had high concerns about eating disorders. I think we're getting a little bit of feedback from Miss Ashley, so sorry about that.
Sorry, I'm having poor connection. It wasn't me. Sorry.
With 7 daughters. And even my sons, like you said, it's not just a female issue. It's a personal issue that they want to be or do and look a certain way that they have developed. Some of my daughters have developed some eating disorders.
But it's beyond the incest not being, and then it actually with restriction, which is kind of self-punishment to not eat. And obviously, the dang part is that you just disappear, slowly but surely, and nobody can say you look chubby. That's it, obviously. But the real cause is like far removed from the body. It is people who are under high stress situations and who can't express themselves in a different way. The closest I feel is actual self-harm, where people take a knife and cut their skin, and via observing the blood coming out their wound, they get relief. And that is what, it starts with a diet, but then you have a binge. That's usually how it goes down the first time. And you feel so bad about letting yourself down further than whatever you experienced prior through a long period.
Right.
And then you just try to get release, and then you do it and think, oh, that was easy. And then suddenly, whoops, it's not you doing it, and it goes fast. It's within, probably after the first time, it starts like, doing you instead of you doing it, and it's not about wanting to be skinny. That's really secondary. I never actually, it's not that I had a totally wonderful young human body, but my bad self-image and my anger and pain inside made me look in the mirror and think I am not acceptable the way I am,
So tell me about the anger, because I think that's one of the things about eating disorders or any disorder is that people get angry at themselves.
Yes.
With me teaching emotional education and working with people about their emotions, it's not so much about not getting angry. That's not what this is. It's about understanding where the anger is coming from. Is that what you had to work on?
Absolutely. I was certified as gifted and supported at all. I mean, I was at a good school, but instead of receiving support, I was actually picked by a teacher as an example of what happens to students who think they're smarter than the teacher. And unfortunately, he was spending most of the teaching time in our class. So I would see him a lot, and he would publicly defame me. And the problem was when I was like 13 and that happened, he was so funny as well. He had this sarcastic humor. So it was difficult to explain to people why, you crack up yourself, as you get chalk thrown on your head, or as your work is being ripped apart in front of the class, or as he's trying out a new super tricky question and lets you walk to the blackboard and makes the whole class laugh about you. So that was, that not being heard, because I talked to people, but they were like, oh, all right, there goes teenager angst,
Right.
And that just it was. I didn't fully analyze the story. I didn't even know that was abuse. I figured that out in the very, very, very end of my recovery, when I was already 10 years stable, where I was like, oh my God, I'm an abuse victim too.
Yeah, you've been abused.
That's the point where it all began, where it went all south,
Yeah, you've been abused, and most people don't know they're being abused. Like I said, being a father or a friend or a husband or a maid, I'm always concerned about, our women are being abused at a very young age, and people just laugh it off, some type of social humor. It's disgusting, and I think we're finding a better way to rectify it. And a lot of people say, well, now we're too sensitive. And I don't think we're too sensitive at all. I don't think we understand some of the dynamics that words have power and words hurt. It's not just the physical abuse, it's the emotional and mental abuse that scars for a lifetime.
Yeah. But you definitely, you gotta fix, and give light and forgiveness and stop hoping for the past.
I think that different for everyone.
Yeah.
The key phrase is that it's possible and you can get there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with you, Leanne. How did you first learn how to heal?
Oh, that's a tricky one. And if I'm 100% honest, I still struggle at times. So everyone does a different process. And I'm in a little bit of a different place that way, but I'm working on it. And for me, I actually quit gymnastics when I was getting burnt out and I wasn't healthy. And once I was very removed from it is when I started to be able to heal.
Okay.
With the help of the therapist and It's and for everyone it's different. There's no clear path, and for me also, I feel very fortunate to have met Annabelle and Jennifer, our co-executive producer, because I strongly feel that this film and working with these women is part of my journey to finish my healing process.
So now, have you guys written about this, and are you guys going to put this in a play or a movie or a short film?
Yes, we wrote a short film that we're directing May 18th and 19th, and it's called The Way to Perfection. Mm-hmm. And we at the moment we're running a Seed and Spark campaign. You can follow us. Our social media is called The Way to Perfection. We've been raising money. We still have a little ways to go. Everyone's been so supportive. So, shares, likes, $5, $1,000, all of that is super helpful to help us finish our journey. Our plan is to shoot May 18th and 19th. And, this is a film we really want to get out to the world that we think is going to help other people.
So for people who didn't hear that clearly, I'm going to say this again, and welcome to the people on Instagram and Facebook Live. You're listening to Bridges, and I'm your host, Dr. Paul. We're talking to Miss Annabelle and Leanne, and they're talking about The Way to Perfection. And it's about eating disorders. It's about bringing an awareness to eating disorders. Both Annabelle and Leanne are writers, directors, and actresses in multi-films. and it's a pleasure to have them on bridges. I always like to associate a bridge, and my bridge today is the 6th Street Viaduct Bridge, and that's in Los Angeles. And the reason why I picked that bridge is because these two lovely ladies are out there in LA doing their thing, and they're bringing light to eating disorders. So when we talk about healing, we talk about healing from the inside to the outside. We talk about emotional disorders. We talk about how it affects us from the inside to the outside. And Miss Annabelle, how did you learn how to heal through your disorder?
I never talked to a single soul while I was going through it, which is probably not recommendable at all, because it's so shame-based. I was like, dude, too much of a sissy to ever talk to anybody. I was so ashamed and embarrassed. However, my healing was definitely, when the whole abuse with the teacher happened, I turned into an atheist as well, which was part of my downward spiral, because I was a naturally very spiritual kid with a close connection to God.
Right.
And but the remnants of the spirituality in that moment of crisis were that I was like, no, human beings are not supposed to live this way, and I'm truly not wanting, this is not me, this is something happening to me, which was my saving grace, because I was, I began to study it, like pretty soon, where I was like, okay, if I got this, there must be a way to get rid of this. And the faith in that kept me going on this 7-year journey and really unfold my problems like a big onion and go layer by layer. So I read prolifically, not about eating disorders, because I didn't find any good books at the time. The ones I found than helpful. But I would look at, how to build myself up in the inside. There are so many fabulous self-help books. And during that process, I figured out I want to be an artist, and I really have to go this way in order to express myself, and that was part of it. And as I was getting on the road and getting rid of people that were not nice to me, that was a big thing for me too, to realize, hey, if I have a-holes in my circle of friends, that's my own mistake, so why don't I just pick the nice ones? And and over time, God came back into my life as well, step by step, and I look back and see a strong correlation there as well, that the void we're trying to fill with unhealthy behaviors, that instant gratification desire, that burning desire, comes from trying to fill that hole, which is, in my eyes, it's God-shaped, whatever that means for you, purpose, and
Annabelle, I'm going to agree with you. I think there are many things we're missing in our lives, right? And it's not because we don't have it. I think we get turned around, and we lose sight of what's the glory in our lives, if that makes sense. Whether it be, and like, for instance, in my family, and with my daughters who have gone through different disorders and different depression states, we have all asked, and I've said this in my other shows before, that as long as you can ask for help, as long as you can say, I need help, you are saving your life. It's when we don't ask for help that we end up losing so much of ourselves. And that's where it becomes dangerous. Even like with this eating disorder, you guys are, if when people, like you said, because it doesn't just showcase itself by someone being thin or not eating. Someone's got to say, I have an eating disorder, or I am not feeling like I think I should. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It does make sense. I think that's what people don't talk about it, because it's very much a shame-based disease. Why it's so difficult for me to start healing.
Say that again. You broke up a little bit, Leanne.
I'm just saying that because it's a shame-based disease, it's hard for people to speak up, and that's why we want to create more awareness. And I think it helped. That's why the healing process was so difficult, because I wasn't ready to talk about it.
And so how can we as a culture of people get someone to talk about something that they're not sure that they have, or they're not sure if they even can, or have you guys talked about that in your meetings? Like, how do we get people just to open up about it? Because people are afraid, and that's sad, because you would think in our social media society that we would be less fearful, but I think people are becoming more fearful.
There's the magic word. It's actually 2 words: unconditional love.
Yes.
Because if you can often reach out to people and say, I don't know what's going on. I just want you to know that no matter what is going on, I'm always there for you, and I help you where you need me to. And I love you anyways, no matter what's going on. You know, that's I think the best approach, because you don't want to rub it in the face. It could have the opposite effect. And then too much, like, there's a fine line between that unconditional love that respects if somebody needs to move away 5 steps before they're open, compared to a pressing kind of love, right? A lot of people get desperate to help, and then they overwhelm the person, and the person feels cornered and shuts down even more. And the best example I can give, please do not be the sun on sunburned skin.
Wow.
You know, where it becomes overbearing and painful, and where you feel you're letting, for example, parents, if a parent wants to help their kid and sees they're struggling, if that love becomes overwhelming, you know, then it might scare the kid or adult, whoever it is, even more by thinking, oh my God, now I'm letting my loved ones down, and they're crying because of me, and they're suffering because of me. I'm such a loser and useless pig, or whatever, you know. That's the thoughts people feel when that love becomes, you know, overwhelming in the sense of sun on sunburned skin.
So, you know, sometimes when you and partners play a big role in this, because if you don't have a healthy partner who is listening to you with unconditional love, have you heard this said to people that you're not able to get over it, you're not strong enough, pull yourself together? Have you heard those things said to people?
Of course. That's say, you know, so it's got to be gentle and allow space to retreat for a while and take it at space that the person who is suffering from this need. So you need endless patience, conditional, no matter if they open up or not. It's just gotta have that solid love, and they will.
You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if you're coming in intermittently.
Just sitting.
Okay.
Not moving.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to what you were saying before. It is the unconditional love aspect, and I think when people feel like they are helping and they are being the sun on sunburned skin, they are hurting, and they don't know that they're hurting the other, and it's making the person who is in that state sicker.
That's correct. Part of the pattern. You know the Native American, the Dreamcatcher,
yes,
right? Which is actually a spider web, and the meaning of if you pull right here, it moves down there. And so we need to know that when we have a loved one close by who is suffering from this, we play a direct part, and which is a good and a bad thing. If we're scared to do the wrong, it will affect it. If we show that unconditional love, it will affect it. So there's a relationship.
You broke up in the last words you said.
I said there's a correlation between the person that wants to help, you know, like if it's a family, for sure, it's like a net You know, like addiction is not just one single person. It's the net around these people that has all a direct effect.
So I'm gonna link it up to The Way to Perfection, and I know it's on Annabelle's page, correct? On her Facebook page. So I'm going to, and I want you to talk about, so where can people find you? Is there like a web page also, or is there just like a, because I'm going to try to bring this up here, and...
Yes. So if you're on Seed and Spark, that is our most awesome place to go because it links up everything. All our social media is shown on it. You're not going to miss out on anything. You're going to get all the updates. You know, you can follow us. You can share it on your social media. You can make a donation. There's so many ways you can get involved in this important film.
And it's called Seed and Spark?
That's the name of the platform. And search for the film is called The Way of Perfection.
Oh, okay. Because I had it wrong. I found it here, The Way to Perfection in the film, in the short film. So how many actors and actresses do you have in this short film?
Oh, we have a fair amount. We have 2 lead characters, and then we have, I would say, 5 smaller characters. Then we also have a number of gymnasts, a whole group of 12 to 15-year-old star gymnasts that have come on board. I would say we have at least a 25-plus cast when we include all of our stunt actors.
And not to forget our phenomenal cameo actors. There is Leighton, who is in Alexa and Katie, the Emmy-nominated show. She's a phenomenal actress, and also she's the voice of Frosta in She-Ra, which is a very, very successful series on Netflix. And then we have Wyatt Olaf, who is in It and It 2, the Stephen King movie. And
then we just have Kelly Perrine.
Oh, yeah.
Got off his TV series, Geek Squad.
Yeah.
Probably know him from the Drew Carey Show.
That's right. Yeah.
We have been for a big actor in our film.
And you can part of the project. If you check out our perks, you see we're really inclusive for especially filmmakers who find it beneficial to be associated with our project, become a part of it, to grow their resume with a legit awesome production that will go to places. We have heavy festival affiliations. Leanne and myself, you know me from the Action on Film. I have my own film festival now as well called the Anabelle Munro Most Important Films. And then Leanne has super strong ties. We have been around for a little while, and this movie will go places, and we're inviting others to come on board and join us.
I'm very proud of this film, and I want to bring others on the journey with me.
So, what was some of the challenges, Leanne, that you both found out when you were making this film?
Well, we are filming still May 18th and 19th, but right now our biggest challenge, to be honest, is, look, we're independent filmmakers, so getting this fully financed, and we're doing that at the same time that we're in heavy pre-production, so it's a big challenge, but I've been meditating on it a lot, and I really believe that it's meant to happen this way, and there's been so many wonderful people that have helped us get this far, and I have no doubt that we will be bringing many others on. Like listening today, they're going to help us get the last mile.
And I did post it out, and I will also post it on a link on Instagram at The Way to Perfection, and so people can donate onto this, because I believe film. I've always thought film, radio, music, it touches us in a certain way, right? But it has to bring us into action. Like, I've gone to films where if I didn't know the true story or something and I watched it, well, it doesn't matter what type of film it is, and I'd be like, man, what the injustice, and look at that, and let's do something. But I also have found people who go to films, they just enjoy the movie, and do nothing about the injustice or what the movie was trying to say. They just let it go, and that has always bothered the shit out of me.
Yeah, but there is subconsciousness, and good movies will always leave a mark in your insides, even if you don't know it. Not you, but those people who seem to go out and not care. If they watch a movie with a message of value, that value will sink in. And, there we go back to the original meaning of storytelling, which was healing. It was a sacred profession, and Leanne and I most certainly perceive what we are doing as our duty to help others.
So how?
I also wanted to quickly add here that we will not get paid, obviously, because people were thinking we're raising money to pay ourselves. We're doing this for free, honestly, to spread the message and to have this impact.
Every dollar is going on screen.
Every single dollar goes on screen. That's correct.
That's amazing. So was that like an easy decision to make? When we do something for the love of serving humanity, and I've always believed in serving humanity, serving love, serving our global nation. It's about service. And a lot of people say, but Dr. Paul, you never get paid. You don't make the money you're supposed to be making. Like Miss Ashley Johnson behind us, she puts out a magazine of Just Be You magazine, and there's a lot of the time she's coming out of her pocket because she's trying to bring awareness to things that's going on in families and young kids making a difference in hip-hop and the photographs. So what do you say to those people about, they say, what about your money? So what do you say to those people who think money is an issue when it should be about service?
I think art really, for me, I was considerations about the money.
It's not a project. There are projects for money that are on a bigger scale, like short film itself is not a money-making product.
Okay.
But it is giving back product, and it's doable. If we would do this all the time and we operate from a perspective of taking from what we don't have, it's not a good idea because it's unhealthy. Obviously, we need to, pay rent and feed our children or our dog or whoever, ourselves. But if one can do it, and this is like, how much is that taking? 2.5 months for us of hard work? Of course, I don't get paid too, but it's a different project. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
For this project, it wasn't even a hesitation.
It wasn't even an issue.
No.
Right.
We just both felt a strong calling, and so here we are.
It's our duty, it's so important for me that people know that recovery is real, and being involved with a project that talks about eating disorder is the perfect platform to then, when we go to festivals, Q&As, to just hammer out that message, my personal little mission, and then also how people really feel about themselves when they go through this, that it's not like, maybe a pound less, or not. No, it's horror. It's horror. It's the pits. It's petrifying. And if we can get that across, it's important. Because we've been there. So why would we not share the story? Because we know.
So let me ask you this, Annabelle, and I'm going to ask first Leanne first. What should we, not should, and I don't like you should because it's like telling something to do, but talking to that person who's afraid to speak out and they don't know if they will ever recover, what are some of those things that they could do to help themselves come on out?
For me personally, in my journey, one of the most important things was journaling and having a creative outlet and trying to almost, I hate to say remove myself from the situation, but be in a different environment, start to learn to love different things in my life, get out more. I think for me, one of the biggest parts was, if you didn't want to talk about it, just to start writing about it, even if it was just to yourself. And, maybe something to tell someone is not that they have to write about how they're feeling with their eating disorder, but just, hey, I bought you this notebook. I know you're great at writing. You should start writing. And then from there, someone can, feel comfortable and continue on that journey.
I'm sad to think that we will not get past the self-image that our society holds against us.
Yeah, it is very sad.
So, do you think makeup and the others?
The two things that I would like to throw in?
Yes.
Is number one, people to understand that it's not their fault.
Right.
It's the most important thing to realize. It's not you being a hideous monster lying to everybody and keeping secrets and doing all this disgusting stuff. It's not your fault. Something happened to you that made you go to these means in order to survive, even though it's like the worst kind of thing. And if you got it, there's a way to get out of it, and recovery is real. And the second point I would like to say is self-soothing rituals. If people that are listening who suffer from this, just figure out, listen to yourself, listen to your gut, literally. What do you need in order to be happy? And follow that trail piece by piece. And that is little things, little everyday things. For example, for me, when I feel crappy, I meditate, and that brings my anxiety down right away. Or I have a hot bath. Or I go in my garden and rip out some weeds and look at my flowers. Or, there's like a ton of lists. And it's like I had to create a list of stuff that are good for me. Because I put everybody else first. And I thought, I'm such a crappy person anyway. I don't deserve to give myself the luxury of this or that. Yeah. But that is the thinking mistake. So it's not your fault. And learn how to self-soothe in really beautiful ways, where you're kind to yourself, where you forgive yourself, where you treat yourself like your own best friend who says, you know what, you messed up again, but I love you.
I love it. Those are really great words, not just for eating disorders, but for any struggle that someone's going through.
Absolutely. I absolutely so love it, because if we could just shout to the mountaintops about self-love, right? And then it's not just about, okay, I'm going to love myself, but how I'm going to take care of myself. How am I going to nurture myself? That's you like a bath, meditate. It doesn't matter. What are you doing for yourself? I was talking to a young lady, and she had won $5,000, right? From a lottery scratch-off ticket. And I'm like, and I asked her, I said, I was listening to her over speak, and she says, I remember when I won $5,000. I said, I got to ask you something. I said, are you a mom? She goes, yeah, I have 2 kids. I've been married for like 8 years. I said, did you buy yourself something? She I spent it all on my kids and my husband. I said, you didn't buy yourself a pair of socks, like a pack of Snickers, anything. You didn't buy yourself one thing to say, I love me, and this was something I won. I understand you want to share it with your family, but so many women never take care of themselves.
That's right.
Well, how do we change it? Because we keep telling them to take care of themselves, and they're not doing it.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about, like, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. That kind of concept, right?
Okay.
The religious thing where it could could be interpreted as being a martyr, but if you really listen to that line, it is the same, right? So it is like, it's actually, you know, you're not treating yourself the same and love others the same if you love yourself less. And so it's not right. And